Hi guys, so today we are going to look at a new property of exponents, and this is all about negative exponents. So you've seen that a little bit in some of the problems that we have seen, but I haven't had you do anything with them. I've just said leave them as negative exponents, but today we're going to learn what we actually need to do with them. So if we have a number, so again, when we see a, and then another variable, that just means it could be any number. So in this situation, a could be any number as the base, and then this negative n could be any negative exponent, okay? That's what this rule is describing to us. So in this situation, if I have a to the negative n power, this is what that actually means. What that negative sign means is multiply by the reciprocal as many times as n tells us to. So the reciprocal, let's just go do a little review of fractions down here. If I have the number 2/3, the reciprocal of that is 3/2 or 3/2. Reciprocal just means flip the number upside down. So if I have the number, let's say 3, the reciprocal of that number is 1/3. This is because we know that there's an imaginary 1 underneath every whole number, okay? So that's just quick review. Reciprocal means flip the number upside down. So that was for free. Review of reciprocal. So a negative exponent, let's turn that a different color just so that you can see it. So a negative exponent means that we need to flip the base upside down and then multiply that by the number of times that it tells us for n. So here's what that actually looks like. It's like this. Okay, so what this is telling us is for any number a, make the reciprocal, which would be 1/a, and then just do that n number of times. Let me show you an example because it helps a lot more if you see it. So let's take 3, and let's say 3 is to the power of -4. What this means is take the reciprocal of 3, okay, which is 1/3. 1/3 is the reciprocal of the base 3. And then the 4, I wish I had, I'm trying to use my colors effectively here, guys. Bear with me. This is new for me too. So that 4 means to do the reciprocal, which is 1/3, do that 4 times. So this times this, I'm going to run out of room. I can already tell. Times this. Okay. Nobody wants to write that out that many times. That is way too much work. So we know that when we're doing multiplication with fractions, let me change colors here. We multiply the numerators together. So 1 times 1 times 1 times 1 would be what would be happening here, which is just 1, right? And then it would be 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. That's what I did with the purple. Hopefully no one is colorblind and you're seeing all of this with me. So if I was to simplify all of those fractions being multiplied, I would have 1 on the top because 1 times 1 times 1 times 1 gives me, imagine that, 1. And then instead of writing or figuring out with my calculator, because I don't want to do this in my head right now, 3 times 3 times 3 times 3, I don't want to figure that out. So I'm just going to say that's 3 to the 4th power. Okay, notice that I can skip. I know you guys are all about skipping steps. So I can skip, well, my pen's not working. I can skip this entire step. Okay, I know you're all about cheat codes. Let me show you how to skip a step and go from here to here. All right, we want to skip steps. We're all about making our life easier and simpler, and that is what these exponent rules are for, okay? So again, I told you that this rule means take the base, this is my base, make the reciprocal, which would be 1 over the base, and then you're just doing that the number of times that n tells me to do it. So the easiest way is literally, okay, let's say that I have 3. I'm like, let's make the reciprocal of that, 1/3. And then whatever this exponent is, That's the exponent that hangs out with the number in the denominator, okay? So let me do a couple of examples, and I think that you'll just see the pattern. It's a lot easier than maybe all of the things that I just said are making you feel. The important thing is that when you finish, when you have your simplest form, you cannot have a negative exponent. So the goal is to go from having potentially a negative exponent to not having a negative exponent. We always want to end up, now that you know this rule, you want to end up with positive exponents only. So let's look at an example from all of the crazy things that I just said to you. Let's say that we have 8 to the negative 6th power. We know that the negative exponent means find the reciprocal, so that's 1 over 8. And then the 6 just hangs out with the 8 in the denominator. It is that easy, people. You just keep the exponent with the base under the denominator. So, and then 1 goes in the top of the fraction. Like that is how easy this is. Okay, let's see if we can do another example with a variable. Let's say x to the negative 8th power. Okay, so the reciprocal of x is 1 over x. Nobody panic. We just keep x the same, and then we're just doing that to the 8th power. This is the same thing. I'm going to run out of room. Why did I choose 8? That was a bad choice. This is the same thing as if I did this 8 times, but nobody has time to write this out 8 times except for your math teacher. Is that 8 times? No, that's only 6. I don't have time for this. This is ridiculous, right? None of you want to do this. You have much better things to do with your life. Okay? So don't do that. Instead of that, do this. Whoop, my pen's not working. Do this instead. So, recap. If you have any number to a negative power, you need to make the reciprocal, so 1 over x, and then keep that, whatever that number exponent is, with the base in the bottom of the fraction, and that is how you simplify a negative exponent. Hopefully you understood something from that, and we can go places. I think that I should probably do maybe at least one more example. Let me think about this. Let's say we have 8 to the 3rd power over 8 to the 7th power. Okay? We know that there's division happening between the same bases, so I'm going to keep the base the same. But 3 minus 7, that gives me a negative number. Oh no, I have negative 4 as my exponent. So now I have 8 to the power of negative 4. But we are smart 8th graders, and we now know what to do with a negative exponent. So we know that the negative just means take the reciprocal of the base. So the reciprocal of the base is 1 over 8. Okay, I just put 8 underneath 1 in a fraction. And then, instead of writing out all those fractions a million times, because I just showed you that that is not worth your time, you just want to write to the power of 4 in the denominator with it. That's what you do if you get that as an answer. This is now the simplest form. So if the directions say write your answer in simplest form, can't find my correct pen. If the directions say write your answer in simplest form, you now have to write your answer like this, okay? No more negative exponents in our final answers. I know, life is hard. Last one I'll do for you if you need it is, let's say we have x to the negative 3rd power, whole thing raised to the 2nd power. We know that we need to multiply between the exponents. So I would get x to the negative 6th power. Okay, I can't keep a negative exponent in my answers anymore because I am an 8th grader who knows what to do with negative exponents. So I'm like, okay, that negative exponent tells me find the reciprocal of the base, which is 1 over x. And then I need to multiply that reciprocal times itself 6 times. Instead of writing it out a million times, I'm just going to plop the exponent in the bottom of the denominator there with that original base. Okay? The only time that you would need to do an extra step, because I know you all love that. Let's say that you get to your final answer and you have this as your final answer. All of you can figure out what 2 to the third power, people. That is 2 times 2 times 2, right? So when it's smaller numbers, I would say up to 5, let's say. If you have 2 to the third power, you need to simplify this to 1 over 8. That's ridiculous. You can all do that. 2 to the third power is 8. One other thing that you could potentially get, right? Oh no, there we go. That you could potentially get is, let's say we have 1 over 5 to the third power. That's probably the highest I would make you go. But that's 1 over 125. Okay? So there's some negative exponents for you. Hopefully nobody dies. You're going to do great. Come find me on Zoom tomorrow if you get stuck. I will be there for you.